There's a couple of main ways to really leverage YouTube. The first is organically, and a lot of people know about that, but there are some big advantages that I'm going to talk about. And then there's also ads, and that's what not a lot of people know about. And that's where I've really made a name for myself is with YouTube ads, because a lot of people run Facebook ads, but they're not running as many YouTube ads.
How do you turn what you know into clients when it feels like no one's paying attention yet? In this episode, I'm joined by Aleric, who's built and scaled businesses using YouTube ads and has helped companies grow by focusing on intent, not just reach. We talk about why YouTube works differently than other platforms, how intent-based targeting changes the quality of leads you attract, and what actually matters when it comes to getting people to click and engage. One of my favorite parts of the conversation was Aleric's take on authenticity and why showing up as yourself on video matters more now than ever, especially in a crowded space. If you're thinking about using video to build authority and attract better fit clients, this episode is not to be missed.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Billion Dollar Brand. So this is the Billion Dollar Brand podcast where we help founders and extreme level professionals and executives add a zero to their revenue, make their yearly income monthly, monthly income weekly, weekly income daily. And I have a co-conspirator in that effect right now. And his name is Aleric. Aleric, welcome to the Billion Dollar Brand.
Thanks so much for having me, Shaan. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be awesome.
Very good. So we've done business before. We've worked on some things, some initiatives. We've seen each other in a lot of different places. I know that your business was listed as one of the fastest growing companies. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So we grew really, really rapidly. We were on the Inc. 5000 list 3 years in a row, most notably number 60 in 2022. And actually, the top fastest growing company here in Austin, Texas. There's a lot of fast growing companies out here. So that was pretty exciting. I started on YouTube actually 16 years ago with an app review tech tutorial channel, grew that to over 600,000 subscribers. Then I got into ads about 10 years ago. And in this business ad outreach, which I started originally from my college dorm room, and kind of the classic story, scaled it up from there. And yeah, now we've got a big team. We've worked with thousands of clients at this point and help businesses all over scale with YouTube ads and video marketing.
Fantastic. So you started in a college dorm room. Tell me a little bit more about that, because we got a lot of young founders, a lot of people that are growing their business. They're trying to figure out YouTube. They're not sure what the algorithm is or what an algorithm even is, right? So starting your business in your dorm room, how fast does it catch fire? What is the idea and what's the key to success there?
Yeah. So it caught fire pretty quickly, but there was one key thing, and I know you know about this, but I think this is valuable for everybody listening, is the power of making an investment in yourself. Tony Robbins, I think, talks about it as like the S&P me, right? It's the best person you can invest in is in yourself. And that's essentially what I did. So when I was in college, I had my YouTube channel. It was doing well. I actually had started that. I was doing that through high school and into college. And the channel was growing, but I knew I had something more that I wanted to do. I wanted to build an exponential business, because YouTube channel is a little bit more linear. You put into it, you get a certain amount of ad dollars out. But I wanted to build a business where I could have a team, where I could have a bigger impact. And when I discovered YouTube ads, I realized I had a big opportunity. Originally, it was some of the apps that were sponsoring me. They said, "Hey, how can you get more people to see these videos that feature our app?" And I said, "Well, what if we run a YouTube ad?" I run YouTube ads, they get a bunch of downloads. They're excited. But now I had to figure out how to turn this into a business. And I didn't really know how to turn it into a business. So I found my first mentor and coach. I was online, like I think a lot of people do, right? They go in, they watch a webinar. I watched a webinar, and I booked a call, and I got on the phone at the time with the early mentor that I had. And he essentially told me, he's like, "Hey, I can show you how to actually turn this into a full business, how to turn this into, more of a consulting, agency style business. And it's going to change your life, but you have to make the decision to invest in yourself." And it was a little bit scary at that time, because it was a bigger investment than I had ever made. But other than maybe college itself, but that's kind of very normalized, right? Even though the ROI of college versus the ROI of some of these things, you can kind of weigh them. But I made that investment. I was nervous to do it, and then it was one of the best things that I did, because then I joined a mastermind. All these people were so much further ahead of me than I was, but it was really cool to see, because now I surrounded myself in a room where I wasn't the, smartest person in the room anymore, right? In some of my college classrooms, I'm not saying I was the smartest, but like I had a business, I was building it. But now all of a sudden I was in a room with the smallest business and everybody else had these bigger businesses. And I was seeing, oh, wow, here's what's possible. I started to model that with my business. And that's when I really started to take off and see some big growth, was joining my first mastermind, and haven't looked back. I've been in masterminds ever since. I know we've seen each other at some as well. And it's been a really great journey.
Very good. So I'm trying to think of the mind of the audience. What would my audience really want to know? And I'm thinking of some of the clients that we have. So we have clients anywhere from 1 to 5 to, let's say, 30 million, right?
Mhm.
However, they don't know how to leverage YouTube. So why don't you paint a picture of how to use YouTube to accelerate what you're already doing and add a zero to the back of your number?
Exactly. So there's a couple of main ways to really leverage YouTube. The first is organically, and a lot of people know about that, but there are some big advantages that I'm going to talk about. And then there's also ads. And that's what not a lot of people know about. And that's where I've really made a name for myself, is with YouTube ads, because a lot of people run Facebook ads, but they're not running as many YouTube ads.
Hold on. I remember your ad. Your ad says that YouTube eats Facebook for lunch, or YouTube ads beat Facebook ads every time. So
Exactly.
leave that in. I'd like people to understand what that means and how that looks.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, I'll tell you the ad itself. So this one ad made me over 8 figures from this one ad. Ran millions
Beautiful.
and millions of views. And this ad itself goes like this: YouTube ads beat Facebook ads every time. Let's face it, Facebook ad costs are going through the roof. And even when you have great ads, they're almost impossible to scale. In this video, I'm going to show you how you could use YouTube ads, just like the one you're watching right now, to scale your business to 7 or even 8 figures. Let's hop over to my computer screen and I'll show you exactly how this works.
Whew.
That's the hook. And
Beautiful.
it did quite well.
Before you go into it, how did you get away with that? Was there any kind of backlash from Facebook when you called them out like that?
Not from Facebook themselves, but there definitely were people who had some backlash who were like, what are you talking about? This can't be true. But here's the thing: when you have a controversial, kind of view like that, it's polarizing. It's going to capture people's attention. And yes, some people are going to be upset, but some people are really going to pay attention. And, at the time, I didn't really know how powerful of a hook that was, because that was actually one of a few different hooks I was testing, but it was the breakout winner that I scaled. And I know you're an expert at branding, so you probably see all the things that, that make it such a good, kind of branding message.
Yeah.
Which is great. And so that messaging just really, really worked well. And it also spoke to some pain points. So the 3 biggest pain points people have with Facebook ads is, well, first of all, one that I didn't mention is accounts being shut down. And I mentioned that in some other ones. But the other 2 big ones are costs getting more and more expensive. And then also campaigns being hard to scale. So even when a campaign is going great, it's harder to scale just because of the way that the algorithm works. Whereas on YouTube, you can actually see something different, right? So YouTube campaigns, they have a little bit more of scalability because of the fact that they're more targeted based on intent. And I explain that in the video, right? So you're targeting based on what people are searching for on YouTube, the types of content that they're watching, the types of things that they're doing, the audiences that you can target and build. At the time, it was more content. These days, it's more audience-based targeting. But at the time of filming that ad, I could talk a little bit more about the content targeting. But essentially, I was able to juxtapose, here's how Facebook ads work, here's how YouTube ads work, and why they're going to be better. And that's essentially what I did inside the video, and then led people to my own, at one point it was a webinar, then it was a VSL, later, a PDF/VSL combo. But then that leads people into my funnels and getting them to book a call and become a client.
Very good. Very good. So you basically reproduced the model, because what you said was you were in a college dorm, you saw an ad, you went to a webinar, VSL, filled out the form, had a conversation, became a client, scaled your business. So now you recreate the model once you have content mastery and capacity to fulfill. You create a YouTube ad, VSL, webinar, closing call, client pool, basically. And you did very well with that one ad. I do say that you have to polarize in order to monetize. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
and controversial attention is better than no attention. So that's one of the things that we definitely hone in on when it comes to building that personal brand. You have to stand for something, and the more controversial, the better, because you get the attention. And then, like most people that we know, at first they're misunderstood.
Mhm.
They're perceived as something raw, maybe raunchy, maybe very aggressive. But then when you get on the back end and you realize they're not that person at all, they just use that as a way to grab their attention, right? So you're a master of gathering attention. You've built the personal brand. You've got the people behind you. How important is personal branding and your brand in creating a name for yourself and creating one of those Inc. 500 fastest growing companies?
Yeah, I definitely think it's really important. And that's one of the things where I didn't realize what I was doing until later on. And it's one of those things where sometimes you're, like unconscious, like competent, right? It's like I had people later on say, "Oh, you've kind of sculpted this brand for yourself as this kind of nerdy guy that's kind of figured it out, like ads better than other people, but you're not like." And by the way, I'm just saying what I've heard people reflect back to me, so I'm not
That's
trying to
right.
brag here, but like ads better than other people, but you don't really talk down to them. You can explain it well, but ultimately, it's just something that I kind of curated over time, and I realized that some of my past experiences led me to that point because I started out with a tech review channel. I was teaching people how to use their iPhone for the first time. My original channel, Appline, yeah, it was reviewing mobile apps, doing tech tutorials, teaching people how to use their iPhone. Later on, I hired somebody to help create that content on the channel later, but I ran that channel for a long time, and so I got that. I got used to training and educating people on technology and kind of teaching people, and then I also am just genuinely really excited about ads, and so that excitement carries over into the content that I create. I just kind of merged all those together, and that became a part of my brand. And so I think that those different elements. Now AI is also becoming a part of my brand too, as I've got some AI tools. I know I was telling you with AI, thumbnailcreator.com is like an AI YouTube thumbnail creation software. I've got an AI
Hold,
ad.
hold on, hold on. I want to draw an underline on that. I want to circle it and put an
Yeah.
asterisk next to it, guys. If you're struggling with branding yourself or creating the right thumbnails, because I know that's a key. So don't just gloss over that or speed through it.
Oh, thank you.
Let's talk about how important it is to capture the attention with the thumbnail and then talk to people about what you actually have for them inside of the opportunity that you've created.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the YouTube thumbnails themselves are really, really important. As you know, the branding is really everything, and the thumbnail is what gets people to want to click. That is the key. And so the title is valuable, but what people see first is the thumbnail. People are more visual, so they're going to see the thumbnail first. The title is going to reinforce the click. So the thumbnail captures the eyes and the attention. Somebody's searching something on YouTube, or more and more these days, they're just kind of scrolling and they're looking for content. And so now the thumbnail captures their attention. They say, wow, that's kind of interesting. What is this about? Then they look at the title for confirmation of what the video is about, and then they click. And then the final element is the first 5 to 30 seconds of your video is really important. It's got to be aligned with the title and the thumbnail so that it shows people that it's not clickbait, that they're actually going to get delivered what it is that you promise in the video. So those are the most important things of a YouTube video: is the thumbnail, the most important, the title, the next most important, and the third most important is going to be the first 5 to 30 seconds of the video. And all of that being aligned with the core thing that that person wants. The most important thing is the thumbnail. That's what really gets people's attention. It gets them to click. And you have to illustrate that in a way that's going to showcase what you actually can show inside of that video. And so the problem though is the thumbnail is the most important, but it's what most people get wrong because a lot of people they kind of just pick a still from their video, or they use a template online, or they may get a good thumbnail but they're paying a lot to a thumbnail designer, and then maybe they decide not to do it anymore because they're not sure if it's worth the investment, and so then they might not produce as many videos. And so those are some of the challenges we saw people had, and we saw a lot of our clients had, is that not knowing how to create a good thumbnail or having the technical skills, or in some cases, right, the ability to invest in a good thumbnail designer, or the time it takes for a thumbnail designer too. I've had people who say, "Oh yeah, I've got plenty of money to put in a thumbnail designer, but I hate how it takes a day, 2 days to get things back." All of those things
Speed. That's right.
exactly were challenges. And so what we said is, well, what if we could just create an AI YouTube thumbnail creator? And that's where I created thumbnailcreator.com. And originally what it was is you would just describe what you wanted the thumbnail to be, and then it would create the thumbnail, and that was great. People love that. You would just describe, you type it out. But then I had the idea, what if you didn't even have to describe? What if you could just do this with no prompts? Because now you can have AI watch and analyze your entire YouTube video. And we trained an AI on how to understand from a YouTube video what are the most important concepts of that video, and then what should be the thumbnail based on best practices on YouTube to get people to click. And then it goes in and uses AI to create the thumbnail automatically.
Very good. Very good. Guys, we're going to have a link at the bottom of this where you'll be able to do that. Now, the book, Video Authority, tell me about that.
Yeah. So this is really exciting. It literally just came out a few days ago. Video Authority, The Art and Science of Converting Viewers into Clients. It's on Amazon, and it's a full book. I've been working on it for the last 3 years. It's all about how you can use the power of video marketing, both organic, like we talked about, and also ads, like we also talked about, in order to get more leads and clients. And this is specifically for client-based businesses because, there's a lot of different things online that talk about, okay, here's how to go viral, or here's how to get a bunch of views. That's not what this is about, because you can't take views to the bank, right? Or likes to the bank. What we want to talk about is how you can actually get clients from your videos, from your ads. And I also say in the book, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. So you have so much opportunity with video. And this is going to walk you through all the frameworks, everything I know around. And it's not just YouTube. YouTube is the primary platform we talk about. There's also timeless principles that can work across any platform. We do also touch on the other major platforms as well. Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, some of these other platforms that you can leverage on video as well.
Hey, really quick. Did you know that most leaders don't have a revenue problem? They have a positioning problem. If you're leading at a high level and know your brand should be working harder for you than it is right now, my team and I offer a curated small number of strategy calls each month. This is not for everyone, but if you're a leader who knows your expertise deserves a bigger platform, and you are open to a working session where we look at your leadership, your positioning, and whether there's a clear path to scale your influence and impact so you can have independence, if that sounds like you and the conversation that you need, you can book a call directly with me here now. Go to www.shanrais.com and click book a call. Once again, it's www.shanrais.com, or just click the link in the show notes. Now back to the show. We say a lot of times in our business is helping people turn their drama and trauma into commas. And I know one thing about you, and guys, if you don't know this, just take my word for it. Aleric is the same person in this video as he is online, as he is offline. So authenticity marketing, the power of being your ideal self so that you don't have to recreate yourself or show up as a different person, and then you get caught out of character or out of brand, right? So we talk about turning drama and trauma into commas, which is using people's origin brand story and using that to monetize who they really are just by that differentiation point, because nobody has your background but you. So imagine what this would look like done the wrong way is you showing up in a suit and red tie, or me putting on glasses and a button up. It would just be off, right? So talk to people about authenticity and then using video as a way to connect with people through their ideal, authentic self. Let them know that they don't have to be anybody else.
That really is the case. And that's actually one of the chapters in the book, which is so funny that you brought that up, is that I talk about that. And I know you approach it from a branding perspective. I approach it from a video perspective, but it really is a big area. It's being that authentic authority on video, being yourself, but also making sure that you're clearly an authority at what you do. And you want to have the balance of both. So truly being yourself, that's the thing is people are going to be attracted to who you are. Now, there's going to be some people that don't like, who you are for whatever reason, right? Their background, their whatever. But that's always going to be the case. You want to attract the people that are naturally attracted to the type of character and person that you are yourself. And then also there's going to be other people on the fence that you can win over. But if you're trying to be somebody else, that other person you're trying to be is also going to have people that like that person, and then people on the fence, and then people who don't like that. So it's just like you're always going to have those groups of people. But now you're trying to be somebody different, and then you're not going to appeal to the core, and then it's going to be a lot of drain of energy. So you're never going to be a perfect person that everybody likes. That's the challenge. And so why try to be anybody else? That's just going to be a waste of time and energy. It's going to be incongruent. It's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for your audience. So instead, what you should be is be more of your authentic self, show up as yourself, and you also want to be the authority at what it is that you do. You want to make it clear that you are an expert. So what some people get wrong is when we talk about being authentic, right? It is important to be yourself, but you also at the same time want to bring out the part of you that is an expert at what you do, that is an authority in your space and in your niche. And that's the key is you don't want to just be yourself, but then, yourself when you're with your friends and you're not talking about whatever it is you're an authority on. You want to be yourself, but yourself combined with that authority business context that you're looking to attract people to. That's the real key.
We call those the 3 E's, the education, experience, and expertise. And we say those 3 E's will get you to the 3 I's, which is impact, income, and independence. This is very good. I think we're going to have a link as well for the book in the description, guys. So just click everything and jump on whatever Aleric is doing, because it is guaranteed to leave you better off than you are before you find it. 100%. I can attest to that. One thing that I want to ask you, because I know you're a family man, I am as well. So how important is family in business? Talk a little bit about that, because we're not just talking about like tactics, but we're also talking about strategy and then who we are as an individual. When I say billion-dollar brand, I don't just mean monetarily. I mean as an individual, right? So success. Talk about success principles for a moment, and relationships and like family, having that core CEO founder family piece to help you on the days when it's not successful or when the algorithm does shut down or show up in a way that you would like it not to.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to have these different balanced elements. And just for clarity too, so right now, is just me myself on this side. That said, with my because I'm a little bit on the younger side with my parents and my brother, like they're all really important to me, and then the relationships that I'm pursuing too, and I'm pursuing. So maybe this is what we talked about, a family of my own as well, which is definitely really important that I've got on the horizon. So not quite there yet, but one day soon. Just to clarify there.
This might change that, Aleric.
Yeah, I know. So
okay, ladies, he's on the market.
There we go. If you're listening to this podcast,
very successful on the
well, thank
market.
you.
Let's go.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That being said, it is something that I think is important, is like building that type of legacy for yourself and building a family for yourself, and that's what I'm looking to do. So so there you go.
It might be right around the corner. Somebody's probably watching this right now looking for that Mr. Right. So let's go. That's an ad in itself, right? Are you looking for Mr. Right? Here we go. So the pain points when you talk about the account setup, costs going up, being harder to scale, what is the main thing, if you was to say this is the core competency and the main delivery, what is the main thing that you do at outreach, and what can clients look forward to walking away with or working with you in tandem to create?
Absolutely. So the main thing that we really focus on is helping businesses leverage the power of video, both organically and through ads, to get more consistent leads and clients. And we're going to help through several different ways that we work with clients. So we do have some select clients that we're working where we do, kind of the ads for them, more agency style. That said, that's more of a select few clients that we work with. the main way we work with a lot of clients is actually in a hybrid style where we help to build out these strategies and train their internal team member on exactly how all of this works, or through more of a coaching style program where we could train somebody on their team or the entrepreneur themselves on how it works as well. And so we kind of have three tiers. We've got kind of the full agency tier. We also have kind of our training and courses and education. And the hybrid tier, that's our most popular. And that is where we hands-on help set up the ads, the channel strategy. We help people get kicked off with a successful launch. So we're making sure that we're writing the ad scripts, we're setting up the campaigns the right way. We've also got an AI ad targeting software as well, keywordsearch.com. So this is a different software that I've developed, keywordsearch.com, that does AI ad targeting for YouTube and Google ads. It's a little bit more of a technical software, whereas the thumbnail creator.com software, that's like more anybody can kind of pick up and start using that to create thumbnails. Keywordsearch.com is more designed to be in tandem with the strategy around YouTube ads. But that software is also going to be really good with that. And so we can make sure people are targeting the right ads for the right time, for the right person. And what we're doing is we're helping to set up these campaigns, set up their channel strategy, and then we're there to one-on-one support them going forward with ongoing one-on-one support. And so it's like a hybrid, kind of like a done-for-you hybrid setup. And then from there, it's one-on-one support to train their internal team to know how to run these ads. So we can actually install this as a process into their business, which our clients love, because then instead of being beholden to us forever, we're actually training their internal team on how to do it, and we're supporting them over time. So that's our hybrid
Very
process.
good.
There's an agency side, there's more of courses and education, and then there's our hybrid process, which are most popular.
So you basically meet a client where they're at, whether it's DI, DW, or DF. And not, guys, if you don't understand, I mean do it yourself, done with you and done for you. Very good. I know when I looked at you years ago, I was drawn by the names of people that you've worked with. So, and I'll only mention them because they have testimonials for you out in the marketplace now. People like Cole Gordon from Closers.io and Dan Locke, to name a few. Do you have some more marquee names that you've worked with? And besides myself, I've worked with you as well. So
Yeah, of course. Exactly. Yourself too, which is amazing. Yeah, a wide variety of different people. So we work with Proctor Gallagher Institute. So
yes.
the late Bob Proctor, and we've worked with like Tanner Chinister. We've worked with Tim Sanders, Private Label Masters. We've worked with a variety of really awesome. Kiana Daniels, Michael Gabrielli goes by Solar Mike. He's scaled up massively with these solar ads, millions and millions of dollars in solar ads. So people were seeing him all over the place, like pointing at energy things. So it's not as big of a brand name, but Warrior Babe, a variety of different people. So when you put it on the spot, it's like think of all the different. But yeah, we work with a lot.
Just to be clear, one of the things that is unique about us is that it's non-industry specific. And what I'm hearing from you is that it's also non-industry specific. So everybody needs YouTube. Everybody needs to master the algorithm. Tell me about intent-based or interruption-based, because I know on Facebook when you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, it's like you're interrupted with ads. But then when you go to YouTube or Google, you look for a specific outcome, and that's more intention-based. So speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest benefits that YouTube has, especially over other platforms, is like you're saying, right? On Facebook, people are scrolling. We've all done it. We've all like kind of mindlessly scrolled on Facebook, and then you see an ad, but that's more interruption based, like you're saying, versus on YouTube. If people are actually searching for what it is that you do, then they have real intent. So you can target people when they have real intent and they're looking for what it is that you're doing. So people are looking up, how do I build my brand? How do I become a billion-dollar business? How do I, build a billion-dollar brand? If people are searching these things, and then all of a sudden you have your ad pop up on YouTube, you're going to reach people at the perfect time when they actually have intent, versus somebody that you can reach the same person when they're scrolling on Facebook, but you're not necessarily going to reach them at the right time. So I say that marketing, if you boil it down, is all about reaching the right person at the right time with the right message. But if you miss any one of those three elements, then you risk losing the conversion. Because again, if you're not reaching the right person, you're reaching the right time, right message. Okay, well, then it's not the right person. So you're not actually going to get a conversion from that. But if you reach the right person, but it's not the right time. And yes, it's the right message, but it's not the right time, which is what happens a lot of the time on Facebook, then you're not going to get the conversion right away. And especially now, in the past, with email marketing, it used to be, oh yeah, you just put them on your email list. And of course, everybody's going to open their email. Do people open their emails anymore? Not at this. So you kind of need to reach them at the right time to make
That's
sure
right.
that you get a hold of them. And so it's really about reaching the right person, the right time with the right message. And that's what you can do on YouTube, which is why it's so powerful.
ROAS, the big question here. ROAS. Everybody talks about ROI, return on investment, return on relationship, ROR. Talk about ROAS and return on ad spend when working with your company as opposed to a nameless, faceless agency.
Yeah. And that's where we focus on helping people get the maximum ROAS, the return on ad spend, but also at the highest level of ability to scale. So that's what a lot of people don't understand. So obviously, and we have our whole page of testimonials. We've got people that are like, okay, we got 8x, we got 12x, we got 7x ROAS, which is amazing and awesome. And at the same time, what usually happens after we have that testimonial is we have a conversation. We say, hey, let's scale this as much as possible. Because what we like to do is get into a ROAS band. And this is something that's a little bit more advanced. And I know you understand this, Shaan, but I think for people listening, this is really important to understand is yes, at an early stage, it's about how can we get the highest ROAS possible? You're spending a little bit of money. But over time, it becomes, okay, when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, or even like high tens of thousands of dollars, you're at a spot where you're saying, okay, how can I spend as much as possible while having the highest return on ad spend possible? And you want to kind of have this band. And so usually what we see is we usually have our clients, and it's going to depend on the industry, so sometimes it's a little bit higher, but the average band is a 3 to 5x ROAS band. And what that means is that, and on the lower end, it's obvious, right? If it drops below 3x, you want to, optimize or cut those campaigns or scale back. But on the high end, this is what confuses people. If you're above 5x, let's say you're at 6x, instead of just staying at 6x, we say scale up those campaigns until you get within 5x, because you're looking at a curve where you have your return on ad spend, and it goes like this, and it's always going to be a downward curve over time, right? The more that you spend, there's an upward curve on your overall amount of spend, and then therefore revenue and profit you can make. And you want to get to that spot in the middle where you have the highest return at the highest amount of possible spend. That's the key inflection point that you want to be at. And so typically for a lot of businesses that we work with, we're targeting that 3 to 5x, where the 4x is kind of the middle ground. If they go above 5x, we want to scale up those campaigns and actually purposely slightly diminish the return so that they can have a higher actual profit margin that they can create on the back end. Because if you have a 10x return on $1,000 of ad spend, right, you're making $9,000. But if you have a 5x return on $100,000 of ad spend, right, then you're making $400,000, which is better in gross margin. So would you rather have 9,000 and say that you made a 10x return, or would you rather have 400,000 and say that you made, a 5x return? And that's what we talk with clients about, and that's what some people don't understand. And so we found that the kind of band is usually a 3 to 5x band. Now, some clients are at a higher band. Other clients, if they're more lower ticket, they might be, in more recurring revenue, they might be at a lower band. But that's typically what we see.
Let me ask you this. Does every industry and every provider, every business owner, every service provider, every coach, every speaker, does everybody have someone looking for what they do the way they do it? Or do they have to be a huge marquee name?
I think I understand the question here is like, with all the different types of experts out there, are there people looking for what it is that you do?
Does this work for everybody? I want Joe Q Public to say, oh, this includes me.
Yeah. So there are absolutely people who are looking for all kinds of different expertise. Like the thing is, we have a client who, this guy, Ben, and he basically, he does high ticket harmonica lessons. He teaches people how to play the harmonica, and he'll teach them how to become, and it's like $4,000 to learn how to play the harmonica. And he hops on and he plays it on his YouTube ad. It's great because it's visual and you can hear it. And he hops on his Zoom sales calls. He starts by playing the harmonica, and he's like, I'm going to teach you how to play like that. And that's the thing, is like, it's one of those things where there's people out there that are looking to learn how to play the harmonica. They're willing to pay thousands of dollars to learn how to play the harmonica. And there you go. It's like, and so I think that there's a market for everything. Now, how big that market is, that's gonna ultimately depend. But really, any core expertise, from what I've seen, you're going to be able to, make a living on. Now, whether or not it's going to be a mass market business, I think that's where you get into the more, does this fall into a camp or category that's going to be a little more broad? But I'd also start somewhere and then expand, because something like that could expand into music lessons more generally, right? So it could start with that, but then it could expand into something else if he wants. But he's also
That's
doing
right.
quite well just doing that. So maybe it's more of a lifestyle business, which I believe it is in his case. But anyways, like, maybe that's the path there.
So you're basically connecting the seeker to the sought.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a connection and an understanding of the traffic, right? Understanding traffic, understanding, for instance, highway exits, helping people to take exits at the right place, and then placing your clients in the optimal location. So I heard you say timing is everything, location is everything, messaging or advertisement or thumbnail and video in this case is everything.
Mhm.
Very important. Very, very, very good. And it doesn't make a difference how quirky they are. It
Yeah.
doesn't make a difference how nuanced. Maybe sometimes even the better, the quirkier, the better, right? Sometimes the different. I remember Jack Welch. So I had the blessing of being taught by Jack Welch, mentored by him in the Jack Welch Management Institute before he passed. And one of the things he said to me, because I asked him, like, how do I? He said, if you can't be number one or number two in your vertical, just eviscerate it. That's why he was called Neutron Jack, because he took very well performing industries or departments within GE and eviscerated them at the height of what looked like profitability, but he knew it wasn't scalable and it couldn't be number one or number two. So ultimately, it would taint the brand. And I said, well, Jack, well, how do you differentiate yourself if you're me, if you're a coach, if you're a speaker, if you're a consultant? How do you differentiate yourself when you've got KPMG, Accenture, Deloitte, and all of these huge markets? And he said, he asked the audience, he asked the crowd, and he said, does anybody know anybody who came from Harlem and became a consultant? They said no. He said, do you know anybody who talks about growing up in what Sean calls the war on drugs and making good with their lives and becoming self-sufficient? Nobody raised their hand. Nobody understood it. He said, lastly, does anybody know how Sean picks up his ring and says his wife changed his life? Does anybody know someone who tells a story like that that's illustrative and then backs it up with evidence and education? And he said, no. Nobody answered. So he said, Sean, that's how you do it. You differentiate yourself through your origin brand story because nobody has your story. So my question to you is, in this age of everybody being everything and claiming everything and having AI take away the originality and take away the authenticity of the market, are people still fooled by that, or are they still craving for the identification with a sole provider who they can identify with and relate to?
You said it really well too, is that people are definitely really looking for that person that they can identify with, they can relate to, and they can see as authentic. And I think that there's the couple different the people that they can either see themselves in that person, or they really just can see that person being themselves. They might not identify with that exact same situation, but they can say, wow, I am so impressed that you are being yourself. You are not hiding any of these different elements. You are clearly being yourself. And I respect that, authenticity. And so even though, I might come from a different background, I'm going to look at that and say, wow, I really respect that. And also I want to learn from those different like experiences and lessons. And so I think that it's the combination of those two things that's really going to draw people towards you. I think it's powerful.
Let me just explain to the audience really quick. I bring on people that I like and I know and I trust and I want to learn from. So as Aleric's talking, if you see my head down and my arm moving, it's because I'm writing notes. And what he just said to me, what you just said to me, helped me to come up with an entirely different perspective on this. And it's aspirational authenticity. So even if people don't agree or don't share the same similar background, the authenticity is aspirational to them and they want to embody that kind of comfortability in their skin. So even if they share a different background, they can actually be attracted to you and want to learn more about you and want to learn more about your brand and become a supporter of the brand without being a constituent from the same background or zip code of your story. But this is how your drama and trauma, a lot of things what we say is we turn your drama and trauma into commas. And this is how you monetize what other people dramatize and traumatize. Aleric, it has been absolutely phenomenal to connect with you. And I thank you so much for sharing so much value. How can my listeners get in contact with you for that DIY, DWY, or DFY?
Well, yeah, thank you so much again for having me on. And so there's a few different ways that people can get in contact with us. And also, I want to give a free resource. I always love leading with value. So I've got a 19-page YouTube ad strategy PDF and a training that goes with it. You go to adoutreach.com/gift. That's ADOUTREACH.com/GIFT. Adoutreach.com/gift. You get the 19-page YouTube ad strategy PDF. And then on the next page, you'll be able to see the ability to book a call with our team to see if it's a fit to work with us. Of course, I've got the Video Authority book. You can go to videoauthoritybook.com to grab that book. And then also thumbnailcreator.com, the AI YouTube thumbnail creation software. I know you're going to be putting those links in the description. So
Definitely.
really appreciate it. This has been an amazing podcast.
Yes, sir. One more question to you. Because I remember when I started. So I started in the basement of a job that I hated with a BlackBerry. And I was going to this job and I was shooting videos in the basement and I was trying to edit them with KindMaster and then posted the same video on all platforms. And that led to my first client. So we did a 6-figure business, just that alone. But there were times when I would go down there and I would wonder, does this even make sense? Is anybody even watching me? And I would look at the videos, I'm like, this is terrible. This is terrible. What is your advice to the person who's just starting? They have a phone and a dream, and they don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is exactly what you said is the same way that, that I started and everybody who's been creating videos has started, just filming videos, and they're not going to be the best. There's videos of me when I was, literally 12 years old on YouTube, doing videos, telling people about like mobile apps that they should download. And they're kind of embarrassing to watch, but I keep those videos up because
Nice.
where I started, right? And that's where I started with my original YouTube channel, and then to see where it's evolved from here. But everybody starts somewhere. And like you said, even those early videos that might not look the best, they can still lead to clients because of the authenticity that you have. And we have such an abundance of opportunity on all these platforms, even more so than when we were both getting started too, because now these platforms, especially with short form content, are starting to serve that content to more and more people. So it used to be actually a little bit harder to get your long form content in front of people. Now there's new. So some people are saying, oh, it's so much harder now. Well, I'd actually flip the script. I'd say it might even be easier now. And it's also more of a mindset, but I'll let you sit on that. The people who are thinking about this, because here's the thing. You put out a piece of content, these short form platforms are incentivized to get that content in front of more people. Now, how you convert that is going to be, and I've got some trainings and some resources, and I know you've got great branding resources too. So there's different ways to learn how to convert that attention, but there's actually more attention that you can garner. Now you take that short form attention, you turn it into long form attention, you turn that into people either opting in, booking a call, becoming a client, right? And you kind of lead people down that path. And that's what I'd really encourage you to do. The other thing I would say is you're already on video already. If you're on Zoom calls, FaceTime calls, you're doing video, you just don't realize it yet. So you're already confident on video. You also get to decide. Nobody needs to know if you recorded something 5 times and you only uploaded the best one. So that's the thing, is you have so much power in your hands, but the best and most important thing to do is just to record videos and see the power that comes from that.
That's right. And then find a mentor. Like you mentioned that too.
Exactly.
You said invest in yourself, invest in yourself, invest in yourself. Guys, I hope that you have completely appreciated this. Aleric is a giver, not a taker. Guys, like the platform, share the platform out, take something from this. I'm gonna find one of those videos of you at 12 years old, Aleric, and I'm gonna put the link to that too, so they can compare and contrast the you then to the you now, and they can see themselves as the you then and then aspire to become the you now. Thank you so much for being here and being a giver and adding value to the audience. And guys, this has been another edition of the $1 Billion Brand Podcast with Shaan Rais, and this episode has been done with Aleric Heck from Ad Outreach.